Management is proud to present Daily Vet Life, a short podcast for equine and mixed animal veterinarians and their staffs that's focused on personal and business topics of importance during the COVID-19 pandemic. In this week's podcast, we're touching base with veterinarians we have chatted with earlier in this series to see what they've learned during this COVID-19 pandemic they'd like to share with their colleagues. In today's episode, we're going to revisit with Dr. Chad Davis. He is the co-owner with his wife of Davis Equine LLC in the Plains, Virginia, and they are co-owners of the Virginia Equine Rehabilitation and Performance Center. Daily Vet Life is brought to you by Covetrus, a global animal health company dedicated to empowering veterinary practices. We combine products, services, and technology into a single platform that connects our customers to the solutions and insights they need to grow. Thanks for agreeing to come back and join us again, Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Kimberly. It's always great to be with you, and thanks for having me back.
Well, what we wanted to discuss is basically since the first case of COVID-19 to the current reopening of America, what have you learned that you'd like to share with your veterinary colleagues?
You know, I think that's a good concern, and I think it's a valid point to kind of step back and take a look at where we are now compared to where we were, so as that we can make the best foot forward to what's coming in the future. I think obviously depending on what part of the country you're in, whether you're a veterinarian or a client of a veterinary practice, we all have different levels of concern. And based upon that, I think the biggest thing, and I think this probably is a no-brainer, but I think it's always good to point it out, is that I think communication is key. And I think we can even see that from the federal government to our state and local politicians and those that are helping kind of govern what we're going to be doing. Communication happens to be the key tool that we all kind of rely upon as what we're going to do next. And I think that also plays an important part in how we practice and how we communicate, obviously, to our clients is essential, if not the essential tool during this time. And that could be as simple as communicating to like, hey, I'm going to be at your farm at X, Y, and Z time or day, what have you, and what sort of restrictions do we have in place? What do we need to be concerned about? Making sure people have been healthy. If someone is ill, do we need to kind of change course? So I think as always, and I can't think of a time when communication was not put at the top of the list for any sort of relationship, whether it be personal or business. But I think at this point in time, communication is probably the number one thing that we try to stress. And along with that, I think that you can build off of recognizing that when you're trying to communicate with your clients, there are a subset of concerns that you would need to have. And I think that is recognizing their opinions about the COVID-19 experience can be very personal for them, whether they've had it or they have family members or friends or what have you. So you have to be able to understand and take in everybody's concern about the situation, how it affects them. I think that's a really important data. Even at our own barn where we ride our own horses out of and we take care of the horses there, the politics run rampant from both sides of the coin. And along with that, people's opinions can get hot and bothered at times. And we don't put ourselves in the middle of that. I think that's an important part. Obviously, our opinions are important to us, but from the business setting, I think it's probably best kept at bay. At least that's kind of how we take it. But recognizing, just like in anything else, like we get difficult veterinary cases, and sometimes more heads are better than one. And so taking in everybody's opinions and concerns is always a good thing. Sometimes people just need an ear and or a shoulder just to talk to or lean on. And if for good or bad, veterinarians do play a role for a number of clients in that way. And I think we have to recognize that concern, that need by our clients, and recognize that everybody is different when it comes to their experience with it. Off of that, I think that this is a great time to learn to be adaptable. And being adaptable, I always made this sort of claim when I was going into vet school, was to always be able to think outside the box. Don't get kind of trapped in my small little easy box of things I need to do. An example of that would be the fact that a lot more telemedicine is being done than has ever been done before. And that's a great reflection of adaptability that some veterinarians have and or can continue to make themselves more flexible to their clients. But on the relationship building, this is a great time when clients want to reach out. Some of them have more time on their hands and they have a desire to want to reach out. And I think it's a good time to address their concerns and maybe concerns that they had that they didn't have time to worry about when they were getting ready for a horse show, at least when it comes to our sport horses. There are probably concerns that are going to come forward. And this is a great time to reach out to those clients and discuss things that maybe you don't have time for. We do a lot of nutrition discussions this time of the year. If for anything, Virginia, Maryland, and South Carolina in particular, we all have very good grasses this time of year when we don't have them during the wintertime. And we have to pay special attention to metabolic diseases and laminitis. And nutrition can be boring at times, but we find it quite exciting, especially when we're talking about our athletes, whether it's the low-level athletes or the upper-level athletes. I think nutrition is an important thing, and it's a great time to use that tool as a relationship-building tool for the clients when they have more time versus the time when they're pressed after work or they're trying to get ready for a horse show. So use this time wisely, just like we have, to build upon the relationships you have, addressing other concerns, and obviously, without a doubt, recognizing that we're all in this one giant community together. In any way anybody can reach out and help one another. Thinking outside your box, I think, is an important takeaway from this COVID experience.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Davis. It's been fun going back and talking to people, and we'd like to encourage our audience, if you missed our podcasts that we had with Dr. Davis, you can go back and find them on any podcast network for Daily Vet Life. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Daily Vet Life, and thank you to our sponsor, Covetrus. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the Daily Vet Life on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. Follow Equimanagement on Facebook or send us an email at kbrown@aimmedia.com. Daily Vet Life is a production of the Equine Podcast Network, an entity of the Equine Network.